if we were able to give them the proper education earlier on in life, we would definitely be able to just have a healthier population as a whole. And then, of course, nutrition is just one pillar or lifestyle factor that we have to consider. There are a few others like quality of sleep, movement, and stress management. We need to make all of these a priority in our life. And if we do, I really think that we can prevent or reverse certain illnesses and diseases. And then next here, we're going to go over nutrient breakdown. So for starters, when I say nutrients, I am talking about calories, which are classified as units of energy. And that is broken into two different components. So we have macronutrients and micronutrients. So macronutrients are nutrients that we need in large amounts, and that includes carbs, protein, fat, and water. Carbs have 4 calories per 1 gram. Protein has also 4 calories per 1 gram. Fat has more calories, so 9 calories per 1 gram. So, for example, if we take a slice of bread that has 20 grams of carbs, what you would do is you would times 20 times 4, and that would give you 80 calories that are coming from carbohydrates. You can do the same thing with protein. So if you have a chicken breast that has 20 grams of protein, you would multiply that by 4, and then you would have 80 calories coming from protein. And then with fat, if you say, let's take a tablespoon of peanut butter and it has 8 grams of fat, you would do 8 times 9, which would be 72 calories from fat. And then we have micronutrients, which are the second component, and those are nutrients that we need in smaller amounts, and those are going to be vitamins and minerals. And those are primarily found in fruits, vegetables, meats, fish, dairy, whole grains, and healthy fats. So let's get into carbohydrates. So the importance of carbs. They are your body's main source of energy, which is known as glucose. Carbs they also provide stored energy, which is known as glycogen. They help preserve and maintain muscle mass, and they also help promote a healthy digestive system or gut, which would be the fiber. And fiber is very, very important for healthy adult males. They should be consuming around 30 grams of fiber a day. And then for healthy adult females, they should be consuming at least 25 grams of fiber a day. And then the importance of protein. It provides your body with energy, of course. Protein is essential for growth and maintenance of muscles and tissues in the human body. It helps balance fluid in the body, along with priming the immune system, because it transports and stores nutrients in the body. And then healthy fats, once again, providing the body with energy, helps maintain proper brain health and function, decreases inflammation in the body, supports a healthy heart. It's also essential for fat-soluble vitamin absorption. So vitamins A, D, E, and K, those vitamins are only going to get properly absorbed if you're having adequate fat in your day-to-day diet. So I know a lot of people tend to demonize fat because it's higher in calories, and they associate fat with gaining weight, which is definitely a myth. That's not at all true. It is very essential. Fat also helps support cell growth and protects your organs. It assists in hormone production, regulates metabolism and the reproductive system, and also increases satiety and flavor to your meals. So getting into 3 factors to everyday nutrition, these are 3 factors that you definitely want to live by. So variety, balance, and moderation. Variety, so eating different types of protein, carbs, and fats. fruits and vegetables throughout the week to ensure that you're intaking an adequate amount of all micronutrients. Balanced majority of meals should include a protein source, complex carbs, fiber, and healthy fats. And then the third key is moderation. So we don't want to deprive ourselves of any foods, especially the ones that we enjoy the most. So I always go by the 80-20 rule of thumb. So 80% of the foods that you consume should come from whole nutrient dense sources. And then the other 20% of foods that you consume should be those that you truly enjoy, even if the nutritional profile is lower. I don't recommend cutting out or demonizing certain food groups, mainly because it's extremely unsustainable. And sustainability is definitely going to be the key to success when it comes to losing weight, gaining weight, or weight management. And then going into calorie composition. So before I get into this, I just want to make it very clear that it's important to note that everybody is very different. So what works for one person isn't going to necessarily work for another. It's all about, finding out what works right for you. So these percentages that I have here are for the average healthy adult. Okay, so 50 to 60% of calories that you consume in a day should come from high quality carbohydrate sources. 15 to 20% of calories should come from quality protein sources. And then the remaining 25 to 30% should come from healthy fats. And then I have some examples here of some quality carbohydrate sources that you can choose from. So, of course, we have fruit and vegetables, beans, brown rice, whole wheat pastas, whole wheat cereals and granolas, whole grain breads, bagels, English muffins, and tortillas are all really great options for filling, sustainable carbohydrates. And then we have our quality protein sources. So we have chicken, tuna, salmon, shrimp, turkey, grass-fed beef, eggs, milk, cheese, yogurt, tofu, beans, hummus, edamame, nuts, and seeds. So whether you eat meat or you don't eat meat, there are plenty of different protein sources to suit just about everyone. And healthy fats. So when we're talking about healthy fats, we're mostly talking about unsaturated fats, so extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, nut butters, nuts, seeds, eggs, hummus, milk, cheese, yogurt, salmon, beef, and avocados. And as you can see here, a lot of these are also really good sources of protein. So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone here. So if you have Greek yogurt with granola, right there, you're getting fats, you're getting adequate protein, and then some whole grain carbohydrates from the granola. And then nutrition for optimal energy. Okay, so a few things to remember here. First off, do not skip meals because this could lead to irregular blood sugar levels. Also, if you think about it, if you skip meals, you'll kind of be playing catch up for the remainder of the day. So if you skip breakfast and then you're super ravenous at lunchtime, you have your lunch and then you find yourself still very hungry, but then you wait till dinner. You get home from work, you don't know what you're having for dinner, so then you kind of just like go in your cupboards and you eat whatever you can find, and then you end up getting takeout, and it kind of just leads into this cycle of playing catch up for the rest of the day. We also want to avoid crash diets. So remembering that diets are not sustainable and are only used as a strategy to lose weight, they're not the key to losing weight. That is very important because there is no magic diet, there is no magic pill. Like I said earlier, what works for one person won't necessarily work for the other. So we want to try to avoid crash dieting, yo-yo dieting. We're looking for something that we can maintain and sustain. And then, of course, we want to limit the amount of alcohol that you drink. So it's okay if you want to have a glass of wine at the end of the night. There's nothing wrong with that, but we want to avoid binge drinking or having, multiple drinks every day of the week. Of course, we want to make sure that we are drinking plenty of water and then eating a minimum of 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. So a combination of both, whether that's 3 servings of fruit, 2 servings of vegetables, or vice versa. We want to get a minimum of 5 servings. Do not demonize certain food groups like we talked about earlier. So we want to make sure that we're eating carbs, protein, and fat, and that we're not neglecting any of those food groups. And then it's also really important to be mindful and eat what makes you feel good. Okay, so meal planning, a couple things to keep in mind here. So it's always a good idea to write down your dinner ideas for the week, whether that's on a Sunday or a Saturday. Whenever you go to the grocery store, you want to write down what you're going to have and plan ahead. So figure out what meals you're going to have prior to grocery shopping, so that way you're not in the grocery store, lingering around, not really sure what you're going to get, and then you come home and then you realize that you didn't get any dinners. So planning ahead is always key. Get creative in the kitchen, so finding new recipes or cooking with your significant other or your family. And trying new recipes is always a good option, especially this time of the year. You can do crock pot recipes, you have an Instapot or an air fryer, and then make meal planning a part of your weekly routine. So pick one day out of the week where, you have an hour out of your day where you're, meal prepping, maybe it's dinners or lunches for the week. And yes, it's time consuming at that point in time, but then you're saving so much time and money throughout the week because you're not worried about, oh, what am I going to have for lunch tomorrow? Or, oh, I have to go out and get this. So it's always good to plan ahead. And meal prepping. So meal prep lunches for the week to save time and money, like I just discussed. Investing in a crock pot or an air fryer, I would definitely recommend doing that. You can make a ton of different recipes in both of those, and it's quick, it's easy, it's convenient. You just throw everything in there and it does all the work for you. Meal prep with loved ones and build connections. Play music, make it fun and enjoyable. Consider each food group, so carbs, protein, and fat. So every meal that you have, you should think to yourself, okay, does this have a protein source? Does this have a fat source? And does it have a carb source? And that'll make a complete balanced meal. And then, of course, add your favorite fruit and vegetables into your meals whenever you can, whether that's, adding peppers and onions, into your meals, or when you have breakfast, have like a side of fruit or fresh squeezed juices. That's always a good idea as well. And meal ideas for healthy, enjoyable, and sustainable ways of eating. So here is just a quick breakfast idea. So it's an egg, cheese, and turkey bacon sandwich recipe. So you can either use a bagel or an English muffin or whole grain toast. 1 to 2 pasture-raised eggs, 1 ounce of your favorite cheese. I prefer pepper jack cheese. 2 slices of turkey bacon, and then a sliced avocado. Salt and pepper to taste. Basically, cook the turkey bacon in the skillet, and then once that's done, you can go ahead and cook your eggs and then put the shredded cheese on top. And then, of course, putting the sandwich together and then topping it with the avocado, and then pair it with a side of sliced oranges. So this is definitely like a nice, wholesome, hearty breakfast. It's going to be filling, which is what you want to start your day. So that way you're not, ravenous leading up to lunch. And then you're getting your fruit in from the oranges. You're getting whole grains from the bagel or the English muffin or toast. plenty of protein from the turkey bacon, the cheese, and the eggs, and then healthy fats from the eggs, the cheese, and the avocado. And then I do have a lunch idea as well. So a tuna salad wrap, or you can also do chicken salad, whatever you prefer. So basically one large tortilla wrap of your choice, 1 can of wild caught tuna, 1 tablespoon of avocado oil mayo, and then you can add seasonings of your choice, whether it's Old Bay, salt and pepper to taste, sliced tomato, shredded lettuce. Mix all those ingredients together, and then you can also serve that with a side of apple slices or grapes. And a good dinner idea, this is a crock pot recipe. So this is a balsamic chicken and potatoes. So you would need 1 pound of either chicken breast or thighs, 3 large russet potatoes chopped, half a bag of baby carrots, and then 1 red onion chopped. And then you would use, you can eyeball it as well, but like about like a half a bottle of like a balsamic dressing, garlic powder, salt and pepper to taste. And then you basically, this is so simple, you just coat the crock pot with a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, throw everything in the crock pot, and then cook it on low for 6 to 8 hours. So this is a meal that you can literally, put in the crock pot the night before, and then before you go to work in the morning, you can just go ahead and throw it on. So it's super easy and convenient. And then going over hydration here. So 60% of the human body is comprised of water, and water is essential for nutrient transportation, meaning water transports nutrients to your cells and also removes waste from them. So basically it helps perform all major bodily functions. And drinking half your weight in ounces is the minimal requirement for optimal hydration. So if you're 150 pounds, you want to drink at least 75 ounces of water a day to stay properly hydrated. And thirst is not always an adequate guide to hydration. So other signs of dehydration might be, fatigue or weakness. You might be feeling really lethargic or tired. Those could all be signs of dehydration. And honestly, the best way to monitor your hydration is to look at the color of your urine. So if it's a pale yellow color, that means that you're properly hydrated. If it's a bright yellow or dark, that usually indicates that you need to be drinking more water and that you might be dehydrated. And also, it's important to note that it's also not necessarily a good thing for your urine to be completely clear either. So your urine should be that pale yellow color. And so also I wanted to go over really quickly, I didn't add this in the presentation, but I wanted to go over supplements, so vitamins and minerals, like supplementation. So just always think of food first, okay? So I always like to use the analogy of thinking of supplements as an insurance policy. So if you think of it in the aspect of driving a car. So let's say that you get a brand new car and you get full coverage insurance on your car. That doesn't mean that you're going to purposely, drive on the opposite side of the road, or that you're going to purposely, crash your car. You're still going to take care of your car. You're still going to be a cautious driver, although you have insurance on the vehicle. Think of it in the same way when it comes to nutrition. Okay, so you can buy the best multivitamin on the market, right? That doesn't mean that you're going to stop consuming fruits and vegetables, okay? You're still going to be a cautious eater. You're still going to make sure that you're intaking the whole grains, the protein, the fruit and vegetables. And you're still going to take care of your body. So I wanted to add that in there too, because I think that's very important. And And okay, that was actually honestly pretty quick, but so I definitely want to take some time to do questions. So if you guys have questions, please go ahead and add them to the Q&A and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you again, Emily, and the Adams County Library System for allowing me to be a host today. It's definitely been a pleasure. And hopefully with the presentation and these wrap-up questions, you'll be able to take something away from this today that you can utilize in your day-to-day life.
Thank you so much, Emily. So we have had some questions trickle in.
Perfect.
The first question is, what's your opinion about intermittent fasting?
Okay. Intermittent fasting, I would say it depends. So if you're purposely, I'm going to go ahead and use the word starving yourself. So if you wake up in the morning and you feel hungry, I think that you should fuel your body. You shouldn't neglect that feeling. Now, if you wake up in the morning and you're not hungry, then I would say it's perfectly okay to skip breakfast maybe until you start feeling hungry. To me, that's just being intuitive. So eating when you're hungry and then stopping when you're satisfied. So I would say it all depends on if you're feeling hungry or not. If you wake up and you're hungry, I would absolutely recommend listening to your body and eating.
On that note, could you speak a little bit more to, you mentioned satiety very briefly.
Mm-hmm. So I would say, think of it like on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 is you're absolutely ravenous and 10 is you're so full that you can't get up out of your chair. So I would say to eat, like maybe once you start, obviously like once you start feeling really hungry, you're going to want to eat, but then you're going to want to stop at like maybe like a 7. So you're not overly full, but you're good to go. You're feeling energized. You're not feeling like super bloated or nauseous or too full, if that makes sense.
Yes. So as a follow-up was just submitted. So how about intermittent fasting for the purpose of weight loss?
So for the purpose of weight loss, I would say that intermittent fasting is just, it doesn't necessarily help you burn fat. It's just a strategy to lose weight. So if you think about it, if you don't start eating until 1 p.m. and then your last meal is at 8 p.m., it's going to be really hard to get in a large amount of calories in a short amount of time like that. So the purpose of it is to put you into a calorie deficit, which you can do that just by eating, throughout the day, smaller meals throughout the day as well. That's always an option.
Okay, thank you. Next question, can you be overhydrated?
Yes, actually, you can be overhydrated. So if you're going back to, monitoring the color of your urine, if your urine is always very clear, that could be an indication that you're overhydrated. And ironically, it has like the same symptoms almost as dehydration. So you might notice you have a headache, or you might feel nauseous, dizzy. You might feel disoriented or confused. So they have a lot of similarities. That is why just whenever you use the bathroom, just check, and just make sure that it's at that pale yellow color.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Can you speak more about reversing disease with nutrition?
Yeah, definitely. So what I mean by that is so those people, like for example, who are maybe type 2 diabetic. So if those people really monitor, what foods they're consuming, the quality of their foods, making sure that they're intaking an adequate amount of whole grains and protein, healthy fats, they are going to have a better chance at reversing diabetes as to those who don't necessarily take care of it. And like I said, nutrition is just one essential pillar to that. There's also, you want to focus on getting quality sleep. So as bizarre as it is, making sure that you get 8 hours of sleep a night, which is like unheard of these days, but it's essential. Making sure that we're managing our stress. So stress is actually one of the biggest like contributors to certain like diseases and illnesses, and making sure that we're managing that stress in any way possible, whether it's taking a bubble bath or, working out or doing yoga, reading a book, just, focusing on yourself and having you time. And then, of course, movement is the other pillar. So making sure that we are, at least staying active as we can. That doesn't necessarily mean going to the gym and lifting weights. Just find something that you enjoy doing, whether that's going for a walk or hiking, biking, playing with your dog, playing with your kids. So there's so many different things that you can do to stay active physically.
Thank you. You touched at the beginning about how you don't feel like there's a lot of early education to do with nutrition. So
Mm-hmm.
do you have some tips for discussing nutrition and healthy living principles with children that's age appropriate and encouraging?
Yeah, definitely. I would say if your parents, definitely, get yourselves educated properly. And that's, why I feel like my role is so important, is so that way I can kind of help people, sort through all of the myths and that kind of thing. So I would say, get yourselves properly educated, and try to teach them at a young age. And it's not whether food is good or bad, or you can't have this or you can't have that, but it's just like getting them to understand the importance of nutrition, and movement, and all these lifestyle factors that we need to know. And I feel like if we can do that earlier on in life, we would have a much healthier population.
Awesome. So you also touched a bit about supplements. Are there any supplements in particular that you do like to see utilized?
Yeah, so I would say, for athletes, or those who strength train, monitor your protein intake, if you're not if especially if you don't eat meat. So if you're vegetarian or if you're vegan, I would definitely monitor the amount of protein that you're intaking, because you can always supplement with a protein powder, whether that's just like protein shake or in a smoothie of some sort. So protein. And I would say, like, this time of the year, because we also get vitamin D from the sun. So we absorb the vitamin D into our skin. However, obviously right now, with COVID and the weather, and it's getting dark earlier, we're not seeing a whole lot of sunlight. So during this time of the year, we see a lot of vitamin D deficiency. So vitamin D you're going to get mainly from salmon and tuna and eggs, that kind of thing. And a lot of people don't eat those foods. So a lot of people around this time of the year are vitamin D deficient. And you might notice that with even like your mood. So if you're feeling just like more tired or weak, lethargic, those could all be signs or symptoms that you might have a vitamin D deficiency. So supplementing with a vitamin D during this time of year, I think would be beneficial as well.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Of course.
What are some things that you encourage people to keep on hand for when they haven't meal prepped or they are off their schedule or whatnot, like quick and easy items that
Right.
you like to
Awesome.
keep on
So I would say like any type of, bars like Kind bars or protein bars are always a good option. Nuts and seeds are a great option. If you can take like little Tupperware with like fruit or vegetables, hummus and crackers, or peanut butter and crackers, peanut butter and apples. There's so many quick, easy snacks that even if you don't have it with you, you could easily stop somewhere and get that kind of stuff. And that is like the one cool thing now, I would say, is that restaurants and fast food and a lot of your convenience stores are now stocking up on a lot of these like quick, easy, on the go, healthy options. whether that's like cheese and grapes and crackers, that's always a good option, yogurt and granola. So I would say those are probably going to be your best options for the grab and go.
Do you have any like favorite fast food hacks for nutritious fast food?
Yeah, fast food hacks. So I'm a lover of Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is awesome. They have a lot of healthier options on their menu. It's also very fresh. And I would say like places where you can see what's going on your plate. So like Chipotle, Subway, all of those restaurants where they're cooking the food or they have the food in front of you and you can see exactly what's going on your plate. So that way you know how much you're getting and what's going into the food.
That's very clever. Do you have any tips for for adopting dietary practices or any sort of new health practice without causing undue or detrimental stress?
Yeah, so I would say one is definitely start cooking at home. And I know that's a challenge for a lot of people, especially those who work really long hours and they come home and you're just tired and you don't feel like it. But I would say try to make it maybe like a family thing, or cook with your significant other, or with your friends or your kids. Make it fun. Whether it's like listening to music or just, cooking together. I think it's like a really good way to connect with each other and it'll make it a lot more enjoyable. And I think at first it might be challenging to get into the habit, but once you start doing it, I think it would be really, really enjoyable.
And you had mentioned a bit about introducing movement into your lifestyle as well, not
Hmm.
necessarily having to commit to going to the gym every day or
Hmm.
strength training or anything very specific. What do you recommend as like very introductory athletic endeavors?
Right. Okay. So if you are typically a very sedentary person, so you've never really worked out before, um, I would recommend, starting out with maybe just like walking, whether it's like walking the dog or walking with your friends or family. Once again, connecting with each other. I think that that's a good option. Or if you decide to go to the gym and you wanted to start like weight training, I would say maybe I would recommend, seeking advice from like a personal trainer or fitness instructor if you don't have um, a whole lot of knowledge. Just that way, we are like preventing injuries essentially.
And you mentioned alcohol very briefly. Could you
Mhm.
talk more about that and incorporating alcohol into your diet in a healthy way?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So for healthy adult females, it's perfectly acceptable to have a glass of wine or a drink a night, and then for males, it's like two servings of alcohol, I guess I should say. So also just realize that it's a serving size. So I know, like, when I say like a glass of wine, like we're picturing like filling the whole thing, you know, the whole wine glass up. That's probably going to be like a few servings of wine. So like a serving of wine is, I believe it's 4 ounces. Okay, so that would be one serving a night, and then for males it would be like 8 ounces of wine. Um, I would stick with that. Now, let's say you don't really drink throughout the week, but then on the weekends you go out and you binge drink. Those are the kind of things that we want to try to limit that as much as possible. Just because if we're going out and we're drinking all this alcohol, we're probably also going to be eating a whole lot of food on top of that, and then the next day we're probably going to feel pretty awful. Energy wise, just the whole 9 yards, we're not going to feel very great. So we're going to want to, instead of binging and restricting, we kind of want to just drink in moderation.
And because you've touched on it, are you able to talk a little bit about when eating becomes disordered?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say if you are really focused on your weight, so if the scale, tends to control your life, or if you're constantly like nitpicking yourself in the mirror, if you're extremely food focused, which is another reason why I'm not a huge fan of, fad diets or crash diets, is to be honest, they just make us like think about all the food that we want to enjoy, but we can't because they're labeled bad, and that creates a really negative relationship with food, which is what we want to avoid, because that will not be sustainable in the long run.
Thank you. And if anyone does still have questions, we are still accepting them in the Q&A box. You may feel free. So for someone who would be interested in taking up strength training, you mentioned getting in touch with a personal trainer.
Mhm.
Are there any, Pennsylvania has just announced that indoor activities at gym facilities are suspended for the time being. Are there any strength training type exercises that you believe people can safely complete from the comfort of their homes?
Yeah, I would say if you can get your hands on some like light dumbbells or resistance bands, you can look up a lot of tutorials on YouTube or online, and those pieces of equipment are relatively inexpensive. So if you can just get your hands on a couple of those, you'll be able to at least do something, which will be obviously much better than doing nothing at all. And then if you can, go for walks throughout the day or running, jogging, just, doing your best to stay as active as you can, especially during the shutdown.
Thank you so much. We
Absolutely.
have one more question for the
Mhm.
time being, but again, please feel free to submit if you still have some. How do you feel about fish oil?
Yeah, I think that fish oil would also, like I said, it also depends on, who you are, and what foods you enjoy and what foods that you eat. So fish oil would be beneficial for those people who do not like um, salmon or tuna, and don't eat a whole lot of like fish in their daily diet. So I would absolutely recommend that if you're not eating that kind of stuff, it's always beneficial to supplement with that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We've also gotten the question, would you be willing, if you sent them to me and I sent them to the registrants, would you be willing to provide the attendees with the recipes that you touched on?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Oh, super. So,
Yes.
yes, for anyone attending, I will send a follow-up email with the recipes to all who are registered.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
we'll give it just a couple more seconds here if anyone has another question. But Emily, thank you again so very much for being with us
Oh,
tonight. I really appreciate your time.
absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was fun. Hopefully everybody, learned a couple things and you can take some strategies or techniques home with you.
I'm hopeful that that'll be the case. Well, seeing as no further questions have been submitted, I think that we'll wrap it up. Everyone, I hope you have a lovely evening. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome.
Thanks again, Emily. Take
Thank
care.
you. Yeah,
Good
bye-bye.
night.